Aloha. I am Dr. Matthew Liao Troth, Senior Vice President and Provost, and on behalf of the faculty, staff, students, President, and trustees of Hawaii Pacific University, I am honored to welcome you to the university's 87th commencement ceremony, celebrating the graduation of the class of 2016. We begin this celebration with a Hawaiian chant and hula and singing of the national anthem and Hawaii State Song. Music for this evening will be sung by the HPU International Vocal Ensemble under the direction of Alex Schumacher and performed by the HPU Hawaiian Ensemble under the direction of Dr. Teresa McCreary. Please join in the singing. Lyrics may be found in your program. I now present to you HPU Instructor of Hawaiian Language and Kuma Hula of the HPU Hula Ensemble, and the award-winning halau, Kala Onohi Mai o Hai Hai, Tracy Lopez.
O wow no ve ula kapo ke al ipo lena itawaiye le ai ke o kalu nu ao ke uki no hopu ki uki kamako ke ko ola tuahine pua kaya ulu o lalo o ki waiatana ulu I kahi mea I ki hunai makahunai me he highlight pili o hue vai he mai.
Akahai e nā Hawaii. Olu kamana'o, ha'a kokulana, aho nui alana kila, aloha e.
Ho mākaukau. Ai waipi o pāka alana pa. Ai, hole wai mea I ka ihe a kamakani. Ole wai mea I ta ihe a kamakani. Hau mai na lea ke ki pu'u. La au talai ana ke anu. I I kana hele o mahiki. Kua kula o I tamalana ia ke ki pu'u. Holu kamakao tau Hawaii auli. Anini au e hata pua o ke kua ia e ke anu. Kana hele o wai ta hai ala e ai aloha wai ka ia umehei poala aloha wai ka ia umehei poala mehei poala kamakala na o ke ko'olau ta puai kana hele o malule iai hele I te ala o mo'olau hele uta hua ka I hele I ta palilo ai hele hihiu pili no I kana hele no ali o I te tahua lai ko aloha tai ki pa mai I o unei ma he ala ai kokolo I hone I la hai ala e ai kamehameha. I ola e tapo e te aloha e aloha.
Please rise for the singing of the national anthem and the Hawaii State Song. Please be seated. They were so good, we were all just spellbound. Aloha and welcome to Hawaii Pacific University's Fall 2016 Commencement. Family, friends, faculty, and staff, thank you all for being here to help us celebrate, honor, and recognize the amazing students sitting in front of us this evening. Graduates, tonight marks the beginning of a new journey for you. I wish to acknowledge, though, that it also marks the end of a journey. While we, as students, faculty, staff, family, and friends, do our very best to stay a close, tight-knit ohana, the ease with which we fall out of touch can catch us off guard. But the keepsake of what connects us as an HPU ohana is a shared experience, memories, and a strong bond that spans time and distance. What does it mean to be an alumnus or alumna? It is not only about your relationship with the institution. It's about your relationship with a group of people who have experienced what you have experienced, whose experiences contrast, relate, and inform your own. The lasting impression left on our lives by the people that help define our human experience binds us across boundaries. And as a global university, It is more beneficial than ever for our individual growth, and more important than ever for our societal growth, that we remain connected to one another, to continue learning from and growing with one another. We wish to hear from you on your journey, but know that in all you do, we are with you, championing you from afar, bound together as an ohana in the space between. At this time, I would like to direct your attention to the individuals seated on the stage, representing leadership groups of our university. First, I am pleased to introduce members of Hawaii Pacific University's Board of Trustees, Chairman Joachim Cox, Vice Chairman Steve Baker, immediate past Chairman and Trustee Emeritus Dr. Michael Chun, Richard Hunter, Howard Kam, and long-serving trustees James Romig and Dr. Alan Zecca. Trustees, please rise and be recognized. Next, it is my privilege to introduce the distinguished faculty and deans of Hawaii Pacific University. Faculty and deans, please rise and be recognized. And students, let's hear it for your faculty. It is my pleasure to introduce the Grand Marshal for commencement, the 2016 Teacher of the Year, Dr. Regina Ostergaard-Clem, Associate Professor of Environmental Science. Dr. Ostergaard-Clem, please rise. I also present the Vice Presidents of the University. Please rise. I'm honored to introduce our commencement speaker, Jeffrey Morad, a recognized leader in the professional sports industry for more than 25 years and current chairman of Prime Sports, a global sports travel and events management company. Mr. Morad, like many HPU students, created a personalized path to success that looks like none other. He is an innovator in his industry, and we look forward to his remarks later in this evening's program. Mr. Morad, please rise and be recognized. It is also my pleasure to introduce Hawaii Pacific University's sixth president, John Gitanda. After a successful 30-year career on the East Coast, President Gitanda returned home to Hawaii, taking the helm of HPU last July. His most recently served as the Dean of Villanova School of Law. President Gitanda is committed to academic excellence and to providing our students a personalized educational experience while emphasizing hands-on learning opportunities in a global learning environment. President Gitanda, please rise and be recognized. And now we proceed with one of the most special traditions of commencement at Hawaii Pacific University, the opportunity to hear from graduating students who've been chosen to serve as valedictory speakers. Representing our undergraduate students is Amanda Jean Fish. Speaking on behalf of our graduate students is Megumi Nomura.
The first time I wrote this speech, I started by thanking my professors and the HPU administration, but I figured that's been done before. The second time I wrote this speech, I started with a story about my pet fish named Sushi, but I figured no one would really appreciate the irony. The 10th time I wrote this speech, I quoted SpongeBob for the whole thing and planned on ending it with "All hail the magic conch." Although, to be fair, that version was written at 3 in the morning. I can't tell you how many times I have rewritten this speech, but the version you are hearing today is a question. I want to ask you the same question that everyone asked me when I was writing this. What are you going to say? Students are asked a lot of questions. What are we going to do after we graduate? Are we going to graduate school? Are we going to stay in Hawaii? But when was the last time anyone asked you, freely and simply, what you want to say? I am asking you, my fellow graduates, What do you want to say? What do you want to talk about for the rest of your life? When my friends, family, coworkers, and professors asked me what I wanted to say in the speech, thought about it so much I thought I would go crazy. And in my endeavor to decide what to say, I asked several of my classmates and coworkers what they liked about HPU. And suddenly, there was my inspiration. Their answers didn't really matter. What inspired me was their pause, their moment of thought, their split second of hesitation while they thought about what they wanted to say. I ask you now what you want to say in life, and this is your moment to pause, your split second of hesitation before you decide. I've decided what I want to say in life. I want to say things that are intellectual but quirky, things that are unexpected and profound but a little weird. I want to say interesting, truthful things in a witty, sarcastic way so that people can still laugh, even if the truth is hard. There will be hard times in our lives and in our world, so I want to say helpful and honest things that let me connect with others. Fellow graduates, what do you want to say? Friends and family, faculty, strangers, what message do you want to share? What words hold the most meaning to you? Whether you have a dream job or just want to live comfortably, you have the capability to say amazing things. I love you. I'm sorry. Will you marry me? Will you edit my paper if I edit yours? Not everything you say will be remembered forever, but everything you say matters because it can make a difference, if in your own life, then nobody else's. Think about what I've said, about what you want to say in life, and say hello to the rest of your life with your new degree. And I'll say one more thing. I believe the words we choose to say shape our world. Aloha and mahalo, HPU. Thank you and goodbye.
Good evening, friends, family, HPU faculty and administration, and fellow graduates. Last May, I graduated with my Bachelor of Arts in Communication from Hawaii Pacific University. During the graduation ceremony, I sat there amongst my peers and I watched and listened as my good friend, Mark Bryans, delivered the valedictory speech on behalf of the graduate students, the same speech that I am honored to be giving here this evening. Before I came to HPU, I would have never thought that I would one day call someone like Mark my friend. Let me tell you about me and Mark. We are two of the most fundamentally different people that you could ever find. He is a priest at a small church in Kailua. I was kicked out of my own church when I was 18. On Wednesday afternoons, he would be leading worship for HPU's Christian group, while I was ordering round 2 at Proof Public House. He wrote his thesis on the poetics of Dostoevsky. I wrote mine on the music video of Lady Gaga. He and his beautiful wife are about to welcome baby number 2, while my beautiful wife and I cannot seem to agree on whether or not we can adopt another pet, which we totally can, by the way. I used to fear people like Mark. I judged them because I thought that they would judge me. I avoided them. But at HPU, I couldn't avoid Mark. You see, despite our very different ideologies, we had similar interests. We studied the field of communication together, we were on the debate team together, we were on the school newspaper together, we shared a brilliant mentor. And when I finally sat down with Mark one afternoon in FS 301 and had an actual conversation with him, I discovered that we were both also people, which of course seems obvious, but sometimes it's not. I think it's safe to say that 2016 has been a pretty intense year for a lot of us. We've seen images and stories that both raised our spirits and broke our hearts. We followed movements that were so polarized that lifetime friendships were dismissed with a tap of a finger or a click of a mouse. For a time, it seemed messages of hate were the only messages that were being broadcast. We forgot that those who don't share our opinions or values or beliefs are still just people too. I'd like to quote Marcus Aurelius, who said, "And in the case of superior things like stars, we discover a kind of unity in separation. the higher we rise on the scale of being, the easier it is to discern a connection even among things separated by vast distances. I think that this summarizes the most important lesson that I have learned here at HPU. The incredible diversity of students and faculty forced me to get out of my comfort zone and take on new perspectives. My friendship with Mark, and with so many others from various states and countries with different cultural and religious backgrounds, and especially the Norwegians who would bring those amazing chocolates to class, they've all showed me that despite our differences, and they are vast, we all have a connection as people. I will always be grateful to HPU for hosting an environment in which I was able to glean this invaluable lesson. I'd like to take a moment now to thank my family and friends for not only being here tonight, but for supporting and loving me always. Special thanks, of course, to my wonderful wife, Camille, who refused to do my homework for me no matter how much I begged, but who still provided me with all the caffeine I needed to get it done myself. Thank you to my professors and classmates. I have learned so much from all of you. To my fellow graduates, congratulations. I can't wait to see how you change our world.
Thank you, Amanda and Megumi, for your representing your fellow graduates well with your thoughtful remarks. Very cool. At this time, the university is pleased to present Jeffrey Morad an honorary degree. Jeffrey Morad is one of the most recognizable names in professional sports and has been a leader in the sports industry for more than 25 years. The founder of Morad Sports Management, he began specializing in athlete representation in 1983, focusing mainly on Major League Baseball. 2 years later, Morad joined forces with Lee Steinberg to form one of the most dynamic partnerships in the history of sports representation, covering both Major League Baseball and the National Football League. The successful duo negotiated more than $3 billion in athlete contracts throughout their 18 years together, including representing Pro Football Hall of Famers Steve Young, Troy Aikman, Warren Moon, and Thurman Thomas. Morad negotiated a number of landmark contracts for a baseball client base that included Manny Ramirez, Eric Karros, Ivan Rodriguez, Mo Vaughn, Sean Green, and Raul Mondesi. Morad's reputation as a knowledgeable and respected negotiator has earned him a spot on the Sporting News' 100 Most Powerful People in Sports on 8 occasions. Morad and Steinberg were the inspiration behind the Jerry Maguire character, played by Tom Cruise in the 1996 Academy Award-winning picture Jerry Maguire, and Morad appeared in and served as a technical consultant in the movie. From 2004 to 2009, Morad was general partner, chief executive officer, and spokesman for the Arizona Diamondbacks ownership group. During his tenure with the club, he helped to reduce the club's debt, assisted with the rebranding of the team's uniforms, and oversaw the success of the day-to-day operations. From 2009 to 2012, Morad was the vice chairman, chief executive officer, and part owner of the San Diego Padres. In 2013, he founded Morad Sports Partners, a private investment firm that invests in and manages sports-related businesses, including professional teams. In 2015, Morad Sports Partners, along with the Carlyle Group and RSE Ventures, acquired Prime Sport Holdings Incorporated, a global sports travel and events management company. Morad now serves as Prime Sports chairman. He formerly served on the board of directors for Oakley Incorporated and the board of directors for Citizen Sports Network, a sports entertainment company, and also previously owned NASCAR team Hall of Fame Racing. A native of Modesto, California, Morad earned an Associate of Arts degree from Modesto Junior College, where he served as student body president, and a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from UCLA, and a Juris Doctorate degree from Villanova University School of Law. Morad is also a philanthropist who has endowed a scholarship at UCLA, where he teaches a business of sports class at UCLA's Anderson Graduate School of Management. In February 2012, Morad committed $5 million to his alma mater, Villanova University School of Law, for the creation of the Jeffrey S. Morad Center for the Study of Sports Law. He also has been active in helping to raise funds to find a cure for ALS. Morad previously served as a vice president of the Muscular Dystrophy Association and is on the board of the Translational Genomics Research Institute. Mr. President, in recognition of his entrepreneurial achievements and unselfish and unwavering commitment to the community causes and the advancement of higher education, I'm honored to present to you for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, Jeffrey Morad.
Jeffrey Morad, in the name of the Board of Trustees and the faculty of Hawaii Pacific University, I confer upon you the degree of Doctorate of Humane Letters, honoris causa. Congratulations.
Thank you. Here's the degree for you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. Make sure you don't lose that. Those aren't easy to come by, right? Especially from HPU. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very honored. I'll tell you, the problem with the intro is it took most of my speech. So now I don't know what I'm going to say. But that was terrific, and it's really an honor to be here tonight. I got to say, there's some great headdresses out there, but I'm a little prone to the Christmas lights, so nice job. Outstanding. Although I was trying to point to the guy in the front row and give him the thumbs up, he wouldn't look at me. I like his too. In any case, thank you, President Gotanda. Thank you, Provost, for the honor. Board of Trustees, distinguished faculty, all of you. I'm very honored to be here. HPU friends and family out in the audience, up in the rafters, as it were. I saw a few in the loge level out there. Remember, I'm a sports guy, so I know the terms. But great to have all of you there. But most importantly, welcome to the families and the graduates here tonight. And I am excited to be able to address you and be part of your special evening. So I have 3 sons. Two are in college. One's on his way, your way. I told President Gotanda, hold a spot. Never know, if I can talk him into coming to Hawaii, it might be a good thing. But having paid tuition at Georgetown and Dartmouth over the last 3 or 4 years, I guess the first order of business tonight would be to give a big thank you to the parents. So everyone, for your parents, thank you. And for those who did it on your own, a huge congratulations, because you really deserve it. Now the bad news is you now get to start paying back your student loans. So good luck with that. But we have faith. We have faith in you. By the way, I'm not going to nod my head too much because I know this thing's going to fall off. It's tenuous at best, but that's okay. So some of this will be repetitive because you heard it in a very thorough introduction, but I come from a small town in California called Modesto, Northern California, best known for being the home of Gallo Winery, I might add, which has good wine these days, also I might add. I had an unspectacular upbringing, great family, mom, dad, sister, grew up in Modesto playing sports. My favorite sport was basketball. I actually I must admit, though, the highest that I ever reached in the athletic world was, at least as a player, was intramurals at UCLA. Now, there's some who feel like that's akin to Division III basketball, but, I'm not going to make the claim tonight. I got a lot more to share. My hero as a kid was Willie Mays, who played for the San Francisco Giants, who I don't necessarily expect all the graduates to know, but I'm sure their parents might, and maybe some of our faculty tonight. My grandfather was a professional baseball player, played for the hometown team, my hometown team, called the Modesto Reds, for 16 years. And the story goes that he was offered a major league job back in the early 1900s, but had to turn it down because he had to support his family. Needless to say, salaries have changed a bit in baseball, but back then it was more of a part-time income as opposed to something that you could really, base your earnings on. I went to the World Series in San Francisco in 1962, sat on my grandfather's lap and rooted for Willie Mays and the Giants that year. When I went down to UCLA in 1976, I wasn't sure how big to dream. Small town kid, I thought I had, the right instincts, but I wasn't all that sure. But I began to focus during college on sports, and it was my passion. It was where my heart was. I certainly wasn't a good enough player to play professionally, but I thought, maybe, just maybe, there was a way to create a profession out of being in sports. Could I figure out a career? Could I actually earn a living in the industry? I didn't know, but those were the kinds of questions I was asking back then. And I've always been a little stubborn, and so I thought, all right, I know my passion, I just got to figure out the right path, and I got to figure out the right way to get there. So something that I began thinking about really at UCLA when I was an undergrad, and in fact, a friend of mine who I graduated with told me recently, he said, do you remember your senior year at UCLA? He said, you actually told me you were going to get involved in sports. And I said, I did? I said, I really didn't know I shared that with anybody. He said, yeah. He said, yeah, you really did. I said, well, needless to say, it happened, and I couldn't be happier about that. So 35 years later, I look back and, kind of ask, as I was anticipating this talk today, what the words of wisdom were that I heard that helped me, that strengthened me, and that ultimately guided me to a career in sports. So there are three principles which I'd like to focus on tonight. Those are principles that have really been most prominent in my life and in my career. And the first is, probably pretty simple. I mean, I've already said it in so many words, and I know that most graduation speeches focus on this, and I'll be yet another, but I think it's a really important theme. And it's the theme to follow your heart and your passion, and really the rest will take care of itself. So you have to, not that all of you haven't already, but you have to really focus on what's inside and what's going to drive you and excite you in your life and ultimately your career. When I got out of college, I found myself at a bit of a crossroads because I love sports and I wanted to get into the industry, but knowing I wasn't, going to do it as an athlete, I really tried to figure out ways that I could be involved. And then there was, like many of you, my conservative father. And my dad said, yeah, I hear you on the sports thing. He was an All-American football player himself back at the University of Illinois. But he said, why don't you get your law degree, become a real lawyer first, and then maybe you can focus on sports. Well, I didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. I kind of knew he thought that was a way that I'd forget about sports. And, nonetheless, I great relationship with my dad. I followed his advice, and I went to law school. I graduated, I passed the bar in California, and became a real lawyer. With all due respect to those who practice the profession, wasn't for me. And I decided early on that I was going to pursue the career that I dreamed of for all these years. So I did what any good entrepreneur would do. I left my law firm and I launched my sports practice and started representing athletes. And back then, if somebody asked me what I was doing, I said, well, I'm a sports lawyer. And they said, well, what does that mean? I said, well, I'm going to represent athletes, kind of like an agent. And they said, well, who are your clients? Well, I have a couple meetings next week, and I have 3 more the week after, and, I didn't have any. I mean, it was literally start from square one. And that's okay because, I was doing what I loved and I worked hard at it. I got launched. I made about $3,000 my first year. I think the second year I might have hit 7,000. So, and that was a big year. And I felt good about that. I borrowed money from everybody in my life. I still have a cousin who says I should have taken equity, but he didn't. He got his loan paid back, as did my dad, and as did a couple friends of my life. But I worked in the industry, and I worked, trying to get clients, not because of the money, but because it was what was in my heart, and that's what I really believed in. So, pursuing your passion, huge, concept, theme, commitment to make. I kept my head down. I developed some reasonably simple rules of thumb. Things like, keep your mouth shut, don't let your mouth get ahead of your work. I was fairly tight-lipped in terms of my goals, and, it's easy to talk about them today in retrospect, but back then I was pretty protective because I didn't want to get ahead of myself. So I believed in the concept of let the results speak for themselves. And, frankly, work hard, and in the end, you can surprise them all. And that's what I did. Years later, when as I thought about, pursuing a passion, I thought about my representation of Sean Green, who was referenced in the intro. Had a great career, all-star player, played primarily with Toronto and the Dodgers, and then finished his career in New York with the Mets. One year he had 49 home runs for the Dodgers, so pretty big accomplishment in that sense alone. Also signed an $84 million 6-year contract, but who's counting? Sean came to me near the end of his career, and he'd been offered $3 million to come back. They probably would have paid 3.5, maybe 4, to come back and play another year. Not a bad payday for, even in a rising, escalating marketplace, a lot of money, multiple millions. And he came to me and he said, Jeff, I'm really considering retiring. He said, I want to be a tech entrepreneur. And he said, that's what's in my heart. And he said, I just don't know if I want to go back and play another year, but I don't want to disappoint people. And he said, I need you to really counsel me on this. And I gave him the same advice that I gave myself back at the beginning of my career. I said, Sean, you got to follow your passion. And he did. Sure enough, he retired from the Mets. He retired from Major League Baseball after 14 years. And he's now on his third startup, just received $6 million in funding for a company called Greenfly. And by the way, the LA Dodgers put $1 million of that 6 into his company. So really a great success. And it was a great thing to be able to influence Sean to think maybe a little like I did. When John Frank, who was the tight end for the San Francisco 49ers, came to us and said, I love playing football, but, I really want to be a doctor. I want to be a surgeon. And he said, I'm concerned that I'm going to injure my hands and injure my arms, and I won't be able to pursue my dream. And the advice we gave him was, follow your passion. If you need to walk away from football, you walk away from football. He did. He retired from the 49ers, had a Super Bowl ring, but walked away and ended up going to medical school back at Ohio State University, and he's now a successful surgeon on the West Coast and back in Columbus. So again, follow your passion, follow your heart. Critical, important, and in the end, that will lead you to the right result. The second lesson I learned, which became a principle in my own career, was work hard and be committed to whatever you do. Everybody talks about work hard, I know, and I don't mean to be one more person in the line, but I'm going to try to tell a couple stories maybe around that theme that make it perhaps a little more real to you graduates. When I started in the business, I didn't have any money. As I noted earlier, I didn't make a lot in the first couple of years. You know, I slept on clients' couches. I slept anywhere I could. I mean, I didn't have enough money for hotel rooms. And I'll never forget, I did a trip around the country on Eastern Airlines. Maybe the parents will remember, I know you won't, but you know, Eastern Airlines was an airline that's long since gone out of business, and they had a deal where you could pay like $600 and fly as many stops as Eastern Airlines flew in a 3-week period. So I'm telling you, I was on one of those planes every day going to see an athlete in the next city. And that's the way I lived. Every penny, every dollar was important back then. And when Lee Steinberg first asked me to come up to Berkeley to work with him, I did. I moved up. I rented a room in a house. I put a bed, literally not even a bed frame, but a mattress on a floor. Got a phone. They didn't have cell phones in those days, or if they did, they were a little big. So got a phone, bed on the floor, and that's it. I lived there for 2 years. And, you know, we worked in those days round the clock. If we weren't on the road, we were working, as my friend Penny Lee tells me they say in Washington, D.C., it's not 24/7, it's 25/8. Well, believe me, we worked 25/8 on the West Coast too. And that's the standard we kept. It was, at the end of the day, we may not be the smartest guys out there, but we're going to outwork everybody else. And we generally did. There were 3 highs in the agent business, and for me, at least that I felt, for me, they were signing the client, which was a critical piece of representing players, of course, beating out all the competitors around the country, in some cases the world, negotiating the breakthrough contract, and lastly, December 31. And I was pretty unabashed about, stating all 3 were important to me. As to the first one, signing the clients, I mean, we were quite fortunate. Over the years, we represented something like 45 first-round players in the Major League Baseball draft, including, 3 of the #1 overall picks. We had 50-plus first-rounders in the NFL. Numerous quarterbacks. At one point, we represented 25 quarterbacks. Represented the #1 overall pick 7 times in the draft. And signing a player is rarely easy. If you talk to agents, they'll always tell you, "Oh, well, he called, and I went and met with him, and he became a client." Yeah, maybe, occasionally, maybe, but not usually. Players have, family, relatives, friends, advisors, and, it was often a bit of a quagmire to navigate through. But again, with the spirit of knowing that we could outwork anybody else, and if somebody said, "Hey, can you be in Charlotte tomorrow night?" Bingo, we were on a plane. And whatever the request was, if it was reasonable, I mean, we would absolutely do whatever it took. But something that was important to me, and as I look back in my life and my career, it was a couple themes. One, stay true to yourself, and whatever your guidelines or philosophies are, or ethics, stay true to yourself. And 2, pay attention to the incoming data points. What does that mean? It means listen. Make sure you listen well. John Gotanda knows it's a theme of mine. I believe that it's the most powerful skill in negotiating. People ask all the time, how do you negotiate, big deals? And so you listen. It's amazing what people on the other side of the table will tell you if you keep your mouth shut and you listen to what they're saying, as opposed to, falling into the trap of the natural human instinct of filling the silence. It's uncomfortable sometimes listening to silence, if you will, but if you can, maintain your cool not take the bait in circumstances. Let people tell you. They'll generally tell you more than they intend to. So for me, it was a huge theme of my work. I remember in terms of staying true to who you are and to yourself, I recall the story of Tyler Houston. He ended up being the second pick in the draft in the 1989 baseball draft, out of high school, out of Las Vegas, played for Valley High School there. And I was sitting in the front room of his dad's house in Vegas, and his dad asked me to give my opinion of one of my chief competitors in the industry. There were really only two of us. We kind of went head to head on most top players, and he said, I'd like you to give your opinion, about the other guy. And I said, I made a point of not talking about my competitors, and I'll never forget what he said. He said, well, that's interesting. He said, because, as he was baiting me, he said, because your competitor's certainly not afraid to talk about you. And I said, well, you know what, maybe that's true. But I stuck to my guns. I stayed true to who I was. And at the end of the day, I represented the player and did for his entire career. Played in the big leagues for about 6 years as a catcher, and really proud to be able to tell that story today. In 1987, there was a young quarterback on the subject of listening and paying attention to the data points that come at you. There was a young quarterback at Michigan named Jim Harbaugh. And we'd contacted Jim through a mutual friend, and Jim said, look, I'm interested in talking, but I want to wait until the draft, see where I'm drafted, and then make a decision on an agent. And, we heard that, we respected Jim's timeline, and at the end of the day, he got drafted by the Chicago Bears in the first round, higher than most people thought he would, and we were told that most every other agent in the country just kept coming at him and kept prodding him to sign and commit early. And the more they did it, the more focused he became on us, because we listened to what he said and we respected what he asked for. And at the end of the day, he became a client and still is a client as a coach of my old firm. So to be able to listen carefully and stay true to yourself is a very important thing, or both very important things to do. Negotiating the big contract, to be fair, was also a high. In the agent business, you're only as good as the last contract you've done. Doesn't matter. You say, yeah, but. In fact, it reminds me, there's an old general manager named Don Klosterman who used to run the LA Rams when they were the LA Rams the first time. And then he ran a team called the Los Angeles Express. And Klosterman tells a story that he said, whenever I sit with agents, I count the yeah buts. And we're like, what? What does that mean? He said, the yeah buts, the times that they say, yeah, but, and then they, of course, try to enunciate their own perspective or their own point of view. But the point is, we had the pleasure of representing the highest paid player at virtually every position in the NFL. My favorites, though, were the efficient careers, the careers where, the contracts were fast and furious, and they were quick, and they were high level. Troy Aikman, perfect example. We negotiated his rookie contract with the Cowboys in 1989, and it was the largest rookie contract in history at that time. And then his only veteran contract was in 93, and then he retired after winning 3 Super Bowls and achieving a Hall of Fame career. But needless to say, 2 contracts for a career like that, both record-setting, that's pretty efficient. And, also pretty rewarding for Troy. Proud to say that when we bought half the San Diego Padres back in 2009, Troy was part of my ownership group, invested with me when we sold the club 3 years later. He got a nice return, and I felt like I was giving him a few of his fees back, so that was a good thing. Will Clark of the Giants was a career-long client for 16 years. We made him the highest paid player in baseball history back in 1991, numbers that pale by today's standards, $15 million over 4 years. You and I might sign up for that, but today the baseball players make that much, certainly for a season, and many make much more than that. I always had a unique relationship with my 18-year-long partner, Lee Steinberg. Lee had a terrific reputation in the business, but he didn't want to know anything about our business finances. He left it to me. So I was the managing partner of the firm, kind of the chief operating officer, if you will. And the reason December 31 was important is because that's the day that we sat down and I told him how much money we made for the year. And so, again, signing the client, critical, negotiating the big contract, great for revenue. But December 31, I wasn't afraid to admit, was an important day for me too, because that's when we got paid. So in looking back, the third principle and last one that I'm going to talk about today that guided me in my career was remember your roots and give back. So we believed in athletes serving as role models, retracing their roots, giving back to those communities that supported them over the years. Our clients set up something like 100 high school scholarship funds. A similar number of players paid back their college scholarships. Warren Moon used to give money for every touchdown pass that he threw to various charities in Houston and Minneapolis. Matt Williams gave money for every home run that he hit for ALS research. Pudge Rodriguez in Texas gave money for every runner that he threw out on the base paths. And he had 12 gold gloves. He threw out a lot of runners. As mentioned earlier, I've personally been involved in my alma maters, both at UCLA, where I support 4 different sports, from water polo to basketball, and also endowed a baseball scholarship some years back. In fact, that's a funny story. I had negotiated a contract for Eric Karros, who at the time was the first baseman for the LA Dodgers. He had become the Rookie of the Year in the National League, and we had negotiated a 3-year contract for him. And at the end of it, Eric and I had both gone to UCLA, and so at the end of the negotiation, I said, Eric, you remember the role modeling that I've talked about? He said, yeah. I said, well, this might be a good time to set up a scholarship. I said, for $100,000, $20,000 a year for 5 years, you can, endow a scholarship, a baseball scholarship at UCLA. Well, Eric was no dummy. He looked at me and he said, tell you what, I'll do it if you do it. I'm like, gulp, okay. Well, so I agreed, and wasn't exactly my plan, but it wasn't a bad idea either. Recently setting up the Sports Law Center at Villanova was a terrific thing. We now have one of the best programs in the country after only 4.5 years. And if any of you want to be a sports lawyer, trust me, it's a great program back there. And as mentioned, for the last 5 years, I've tried to give back in a little different way. And I have 60 MBA students each year at the Anderson School at UCLA, and I'm sure I'm not nearly as good as most of the esteemed professors back here, but I go in and tell stories and bring in speakers that make me look smart, and it's been a lot of fun to be able to give back to young people in that way, and especially for those who are interested in sports. The class, of course, is sports business. So remember, don't forget where you came from and give back when you can. It's a simple proposition, but it's one that I think is critically important for all of us. So in 2004, one last theme here before I conclude, I found myself at another crossroads. And I'd been in the agent business for 20 years at that point, and I was offered an opportunity to switch sides and to become the CEO of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So I jumped at the chance to follow in my grandfather's footsteps and run a club, and I followed my heart once again. And I ran the club in Arizona for 5 years before we bought half the Padres in 2009. And we sold that club 3 years later for $300 million more than we paid for it. So we felt like that was the time to exit. So as I look out today over this group of graduates here at HPU, frankly, I wonder who has that same willingness to take risk that I did. Maybe some of you don't all have to, but those that do will relate to maybe a word or two that I've offered. Who has a willingness to work hard and to make a commitment to whatever you choose as your career path? I'm assuming most of you do, but again, key question to ask yourselves. Who will push the envelope and follow their heart? We heard a little about that in the two student speeches, and I certainly encourage the same thing. How all of you will give back and help leave the world a better place, pretty important as well. So as you reflect, whatever your strengths, whatever paths you choose, always feel pride for what Hawaii Pacific has done for you. Remember your obligations to give back, and no matter what, enjoy your lives and careers. And most important, heartiest congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Dr. Morad, thank you for the generosity of spirit and passion for the mission of Hawaii Pacific University and providing such inspirational remarks for our graduates as they begin a new chapter in their lives. The degrees will now be conferred, followed by the individual recognition of each student. So we're going to do the degrees, then we do you individually. President Gatanda, it is my privilege to report to you that the candidates here assembled have been recommended by the faculty to be awarded degrees appropriate to their work in recognition of their academic accomplishments, subject to the completion of any outstanding requirements. Will all candidates for associate's degrees please rise? Mr. President, I am pleased to present the candidates who have qualified for associate degrees from Hawaii Pacific University.
By virtue of the charter granted Hawaii Pacific University by the state of Hawaii and by the authority granted the president under the university's board of trustees, I hereby confer upon you associate degree with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto. Congratulations.
Associate degree graduates, please be seated. Will all candidates for bachelor's degrees please rise? I'm hoping you could speak up later because we couldn't quite hear you. Mr. President, I am pleased to present the candidates who have qualified for baccalaureate degrees from Hawaii Pacific University.
By virtue of the charter granted Hawaii Pacific University by the state of Hawaii and by the authority granted the president under the university's board of trustees, I hereby confer upon you the baccalaureate degree with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto. Congratulations.
Bachelor's degree graduates, please be seated for now. Will all the graduates for master's degrees please rise? Mr. President, I have the privilege of presenting the candidates who have qualified for master's degrees from Hawaii Pacific University.
By virtue of the charter granted Hawaii Pacific University and by the state of Hawaii, and by the authority granted the President under the university's Board of Trustees, I hereby confer upon you the master's degree with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto. Congratulations.
Master's degree graduates, please be seated for now. And now it is time for the presentation of diplomas to our graduates by college. We will now present the graduates for the College of Business. Reading the names of the graduates is Dr. Kenneth Rossi, Assistant Professor of Organization Change and Development. Dean Warren Wee will assist President Gitanda with the presentation of the diplomas.
Okay, I can do that. The following students will be receiving the degrees from the College of Business. The following students will be receiving the degree Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. Alfred J. Uckenhale, magna cum laude. Grace Louise Alvarez, magna cum laude. Jezen Alyssa Amoto. Marianne Jeannie Dela Cruz Ancheta, cum laude. Angelica D. Bareng, magna cum laude. Sandra K. Blackburn May. George Edward Cambra III. Mabel Suho Kanavate, summa cum laude. Maria Therese Erickson, cum laude. Mark Abel Fontenot, cum laude. Justin Francisco Gamboa, summa cum laude. Clemens Johannes Grote, magna cum laude. Deshaun Rashad Michael Harris. Noralie C. Hayes, cum laude. Juan E. Henriquez, magna cum laude. Amanda Lee Hopkins. Nathaniel Thomas Howard. Shuo She Shu. Shuo Ting Shu. Dinah Kakagi. Hikari Kasuga, cum laude. Jihua Lian, cum laude. Janine L. Mariano. Jaume Martinez Vish, cum laude. Jamel S.Q. Mayo. Juana Maria Guadalupe Meza Nieto. Reynaldi Molina Jr. Lindsay Warlen Nonnerman. Samuel Kwan Kamuela Pang, magna cum laude. Misty M. Price. Nicholas Jose Namalsef Habud, cum laude. Lucas Evan Shaughnessy. Michael Hunter, Hunter Michael Haas, cum laude. Alyssa Ruth Vetter. Angel Abanyal Sampanyan, summa cum laude. Niels Victor Person, magna cum laude. John Frederick Schelling. Ashley Keiko Tanaka, magna cum laude. Jason Edward Thuling. Tyler Toshio Tokunaga, cum laude. Rowena Thomas, cum laude. Todd L. Tudor, cum laude. Lauren Uehara. Giselle Marie C. Van Nulen. Lauren Nicole Weikel, cum laude. Kevin Christopher Wynn. Marina Anakalia Yamamoto, cum laude. The following students will be receiving the Master of Arts degree in Human Resource Management. Todd Frederick Maki, with distinction. Bachirgal Purev, with distinction. The following students will be receiving the Master of Arts degree in Human Resource Management and Master of Science degree in Information Systems. Matthew Jason Yetter. The following students will be receiving the Master of Arts degree in Organizational Change. Abdulrahman Fuzi Abubushait, with distinction. Abdulatif Faisal Al-Sakar, with distinction. David A. Lukfar. Patrick Anko Okubo, with distinction. Oh. The following students will be receiving the degree Master of Business Administration. Edilia Maria Alves Seixas. Alexander Karim Burnson, with distinction. Andrea Boras Budeska, with distinction. Dominique Bouchon. Andrea Miyuko Mulan Fukumoto, with distinction. Justin Kiyoshi Hirako. Ji Wen Yang. Julie Chieko Kayo. Jacob Allen Cruz, with distinction. Jennifer Marie Kurlowitz, with distinction. Cassandra Ann Katara, with distinction. Jamie Nicole Mahler. Larry Moreno Jr. Matus Midla. Chelsea Grace Patton. Nikola Borislavos Petrov. Cassidy K. Sakamoto. Jorge Gabriel Salazar, with distinction. Anthony Ryan Villena. The following students will be receiving the degree of Master of Science in Information Systems. Sami Khalid Alasami. David Michael Atkinson. Wayne Wenjen Liang, with distinction. Truls Christian Lomo, with distinction. Winnie J. Moluyo, with distinction. Leonida Reyes Torres, with distinction. This concludes the students receiving degrees from the College of Business. Stephanie Jo Bello Yase, with distinction. Next.
We will now present the graduates for the College of Extended and Interdisciplinary Education. Reading the names of the graduates is Dr. James Corcoran, Assistant Professor of History. Dean Manny Segal will assist President Gitanda with the presentation of diplomas.
The following students will be receiving the degrees from the College of Extended and Interdisciplinary Education. And the following students will be receiving the degree of the Associate of Arts. Matris Manoy Fernandez. Juliana Michelle Finch with honors. Rhonda Darlene Hornback with honors. Crystal Marie Ramsey. Nicole Sauter. Deshawn A. Stansbury. Danielle Renee Weekly. The following student will be receiving the degree of Associate of Science. Shakia Zakaya Gilmore. The following students will be receiving the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Laude Samantha Dominguez. Mary Elizabeth Monrose. Lawrence William Payne. Kevin J. Tagata. The following students will be receiving the degree of Bachelor of Education. Nicole Mayumi Ebisuya, magna cum laude. Trey Kalekauamaka Halliburton. Mary Deloise Ray. The following student will be receiving the degree of Bachelor of Science. Yvette Michelle Canary. Sanoe Avetono Maluhia Tuitele. The following students will be receiving the degree of Master of Education in Elementary Education. Savannah Marie John with distinction. The following students will be receiving the degree of Master of Education in Secondary Education. Catherine Elizabeth Keohoho. With distinction. Sherry L. Shaki. This concludes the students receiving the degrees from the College of Extended and Interdisciplinary Education.
We will now present the graduates for the College of Health and Society. Reading the names of the graduates is Dr. Lyndall Ellison, Chair and Professor of Public Health. Associate Dean Patricia Assam will assist President Gitanda with the presentation of the diplomas.
The following students will be receiving degrees from the College of Health and Society. The following students will be receiving the degree of Bachelor of Science in Health Education. Erica Loy Ellis. The following students will be receiving the degree of Bachelor of Science in Nursing. Megan Noel Adland. Karen Joy Acasio. Giovanni Alejandro Acorda. Claren Akulanai Damaso Afang. Katrina Lim Kimiko Agnew Yamabe. Cum laude. Crystal Ani. Ashley Tirao Aquino, cum laude. Jacqueline May Balancio. Rogelio Castillo Baltazar II. Nelly Maria Bajarona. Cheryl May Basqua Batara. Jocelyn Bercasio, magnum cum laude. Jonathan Ray Dawang Bermudez Jr., cum laude. Kelby K. Boswell. Fevelin Akubai Bukat. Magnum cum laude. Syra Mika Kabasa. Ria Kimberly Veduya Cabo. Gladys C. Cadiz. Myra Joy Mateo Cortel. Kaylee Simone Canati. Savannah Christine Cantrell. Bernadette Bonilla Cencisneros. Jessica Contreras. Maurice Corpuz. Taylor Ann Cox, cum laude. Isabel Jasmine Quaresma Cortez. Correction, Curtis. Bridget Victoria Delancey. Charisse Dania Pascua Domingo. Victoria Ruth Escobar. Nicole J. Fisher. Tanya L.K.A. Gabriel. Christy Analalani Galapon. Mariulu Alcon Ganier. Julius Reneto Guillong. Aaron Craig N. Higa, cum laude. Nicole Renee Kealani Hui Hui. Amy Jean Iniba. Jamie Kavai Atamyoro Jeremiah, cum laude. Nicholas Adam Nab. Juliet Ramona Knapp. Kathleen Mai Labugan, magnum cum laude. Jaylin May Bondak Lazo. Crystal Hugh Lee. Roland Augustine Luwag. Terrence John Domingo Luis, magnum cum laude. Rayan Santos Manuel. Fa'aala Fa'afono Mari Maswai. Carolyn McDonald. Ashley Marie Menor. Brigitte Diane Mukai, cum laude. Eureka Noda, cum laude. Charmaine Jan Solar Ocampo, cum laude. Giselle Ann Garcia Oviedo. Jenna Emiko Ozaki Megam, cum laude. Marielle Gamboa Pascual, cum laude. Janet Peralta. S.C. Lagundai Purdy. Aaron D. Ramos. Sarah Reyes. Christina Salmeron. Mark Darrell Pakpako Santea. Travis Mark Siders. Jose Luis Sierra Jr. Misty Dawn Smiley, cum laude. Jessica Ann Malaka Sonson. Alvin Tao. Shana Kohokulani Michika Uehara. Cum laude. Keone Rosario Velasquez. Felicia Lanoy Vongzi. Jessica Marie Washington. Janae Nicole Wilcoxon. Halina Okona Ao Lea Nahe Nahe Yin. This concludes the students receiving degrees from the Bachelor's of Science in Public Health. Actually, that's not true. The following students will be receiving degrees, the Bachelor's of Public Health. Eileen S. Calavera, cum laude. Brian Raboy Sarte, cum laude. The following students will be receiving the degree of Masters of Science in Nursing. Leanne Shelley Derrick. Marianne Lokalani Kuipo Kaivi Salvador. This concludes the students receiving degrees from the College of Health and Society.
We will now present the graduates for the College of Liberal Arts. Reading the names of the graduates is Dr. Kathleen Cassidy, Assistant Dean and Associate Professor of English. Dean William Potter will assist President Katanda with the presentation of the diplomas.
The following students will be receiving degrees from the College of Liberal Arts. The following students will be receiving the degree of Bachelor of Arts. Shannon V. Busick, summa cum laude. Amanda Jean Fish, summa cum laude. Christopher Campbell. Emily Ann Cole. Lorena Georgiana George. Sarah Luana Haskell, cum laude. Maxwell David Higginbotham, cum laude. David Joseph Yoshitaka Hokama. Sheldon E. Haruza, cum laude. Nicole Keller, cum laude. Cheyenne Kamakana Ake Aloha Ho'omai Ka'i Oke Akua Lo. Cum laude. Alicia M. Marsala. Jennifer Carolyn McAllister, cum laude. Anya Monique Lorraine McClinton. Anna Morioka, cum laude. Thomas Verlin Nafziger. Gabrielle Lauren Pearson. Mason Mahoy Kamalelane Kuaka'a Pelazar. Joseph William Reyes, magna cum laude. Diego Ray Rivera. Catherine Talley Rowe. Jason Nicholas Jackson Ronci. Kawi Lealoha Samson Chong. Thomas Bradley Sifford, magna cum laude. Carly Ann Teal, summa cum laude. Alana Lehuanani Pili Aloha Grep Wilson. Gabriela Nicole Fuentes. Christopher William Morrow II. The following students will be receiving the degree of Master of Arts in Communication. Fahad Saud Al-Zaharani. Summer Joy Megumi Nomura with distinction. Daniel Henriksen. Tiare Mata Nichols. Brittany Chiemi Nitali. Richard Arthur Rodriguez. Yadira Jasmine Serrano. The following students will be receiving the degree of Master of Arts in Diplomacy and Military Studies. Adam Kaulana Aliyah. With distinction. Robert James Jocelyn. Kaman Sin. The following students will be receiving the degree of Master of Arts in Global Leadership and Sustainable Development. Summer Ibrahim Al-Qurashi. The following student will be receiving the degree of Master of Arts in Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. Mariko Hatanaka. This concludes the students receiving degrees from the College of Liberal Arts.
We will now present the graduates for the College of Natural and Computational Sciences. Reading the names of the graduates is Dr. Carolyn Jones, Associate Dean and Assistant Professor of Biology. Dean Brenda Jensen will assist President Katanda with the presentation of diplomas.
The following students will be receiving degrees from the College of Natural and Computational Sciences. The following students will be receiving the degree of Bachelor of Science. Michaela Catherine Adkins. Ashley Nicole Bach. Julie Bommerlund, magna cum laude. Kiki Bornay. Paul Diaz. Tyler Helfrich, magna cum laude. Brandon Liu. Muhammad M. Mansour. Samantha Laurel Miller. Justin Allen Moratine. Monica Caitlin Parrish, cum laude. Joshua Daniel Poirier. Bradley Aaron Reeves, cum laude. Yolanda Yvette Rabinos. Monica Lenice Sines. John Rayner Seekig, cum laude. Leah Ribby Versailles. Joshua Jacob Wall. Jesse James Zimmerman. Christopher Michael Kurlowitz, magna cum laude. The following students will be receiving the degree of Master of Science Marine Science. Aaron P. Kelly with distinction. Jeanette M. Vanderjat with distinction. This concludes the students receiving degrees from the College of Natural and Computational Sciences.
Graduates, please rise for the recitation of the Alumni Pledge, which 2015 HPU alumna Darren Vorderbrugge will lead.
It is my pleasure to lead you in the pledge, signifying your official welcome to the Hawaii Pacific University alumni community. The words to the pledge are printed in the special insert to your program. Please recite the pledge with me. I am a Hawaii Pacific University alumnus. I learned the HPU values of pono, kuleana, and aloha. I pledge as an HPU alumnus to embody them through my words and my deeds. At HPU, I learned that I can be who I want to be, and I pledge to be the best I can be. I learned that hard work gives me opportunity and that my actions are what define me. And I pledge to seize the opportunities and to give more than I get, as I know that I will be rich in the relationships I grow. I learned that the world is made of many perspectives, and I pledge to honor our differences. And I learned that wherever I go, I am a proud member of the HPU Ohana. Graduates, please be seated.
Aloha, students, faculty, staff, family, friends. We're almost at the end of commencement. And while commencement is often viewed as the end of your academic studies, the word actually really means a beginning. And today it is a new beginning for the graduates of the fall class of 2016. I want to take a moment, though, to reflect and thank all of those who helped get us here today. First and foremost, I want to thank your families, especially your parents, your siblings, your spouses, significant others, family, friends who supported you during your time here at HPU. In other words, your ohana. Let's give them a hand. I want to again thank Jeff Morad for joining us here and providing his inspiring words of wisdom. Thank you, Jeff. And last but not least, I want to thank and acknowledge the faculty and the staff who really have worked day in and day out with you during your tenure here. From teaching you English 1201 to helping fix your computer to providing you with the best places, advice on the best places to eat shave ice in Hawaii. These dedicated professionals, you know they made a real difference for you over the past number of years. Let's give them a hand too. Okay, to the fall class of 2016, now's the time to take that deep breath. Celebrate yourself. It really is an extraordinary accomplishment. You need to take it all in and really enjoy the moment, because you've earned it. Now, when you arrived at HPU, what seemed like at this point many years ago, you began an exciting new chapter. And after today, you'll be facing a blank page where you're going to be able to write your own next chapter. And remember that while you're on that journey, remember to take time to take that breath, savor those special moments, savor moments like this. And as Eleanor Roosevelt once said, the purpose of life is to live it, to taste the experience, to reach out eagerly without fear for newer and richer experiences. And we hope that these words actually invoke something familiar to you, because as a graduate of one of the most racially and ethnically diverse universities in the entire country, as reported by both the Chronicle of Higher Education and the Wall Street Journal, yours has been a unique international learning environment. And we hope that this environment has inspired you to seek new experiences, to use those experiences to help inform the way that you live and the way that you lead. So, go forward and do what we prepared you to do. Be those leaders. Be those leaders who make a difference in their communities. And finally, while I noted at the outset that commencement is a new beginning, a new chapter, you should never forget that this chapter started when you arrived at HPU. And as you have often heard here, once you're a member of Ohana, you are always a member of our Ohana. You are leaving our halls, but you're not leaving the community that is Hawaii Pacific University. We are proud to have you as our graduates. We look forward to hearing about your accomplishments and you remaining an active member of our Ohana. Ho'omaikai ana ho'opuka. Congratulations, graduates, the class of 2016. Mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much. And now, the Hawaiian Ensemble, the International Vocal Ensemble, will lead us in Aloha Oi. The lyrics may be found in your program, and this song is dedicated to our graduates who will become the ambassadors of Aloha around the world.
Thank you to our Hawaiian Ensemble and International Vocal Ensemble for that lovely performance. In just a moment, we will perform the final ritual of today's ceremony. Once that has been completed, we ask that guests of the graduates remain seated until the recessional is complete. Following the recessional, we will invite all of you to join our graduates in the exhibition hall across the way. And a quick update for those of you following the women's basketball game, we beat Dominican tonight. This brings us to the final ritual of the ceremony. Will all graduates of Hawaii Pacific University's class of fall 2016 please rise? As a symbol of your accomplishment in completing your studies and attaining your degree, it is now time to turn your tassels from the right side to the left side. Congratulations, new alumni of Hawaii Pacific University.